All right, very quickly, on the count of three, let's have silence. 1 and 2 and 3. Thank you. All right, so everyone knows that we are here for a guest speaker session today? Yes? Any idea about what is the guest speaker session about? Okay, it is about Maharaja's children. Okay, that was very well done. Okay, I think Rashmi's hand is up in the air. Yes, Rashmi? Okay, storytelling, maybe, yes. But do you think that stories probably have a link with history? Yes? Okay, yes. Okay, a documentary. How did you figure that out, Naksh? Okay, it's written, it's an interactive one. Yes, absolutely. Now, when we talk about history, we all remember a time period when in Europe, the Jews were asked to move out of their homes. Do you remember this time period and what it was called? World War II was the broad time period and the specific instance where the Jews absolutely at that point in time. Some of you are saying no, some of you are saying yes. There's a very mixed response. The ones who are saying yes, can I have a show of hands and maybe a reason why you think there's a connect? Yes? Okay. Absolutely. India was under the rule of British at that point in time. But apart from that, India also played a very crucial role in rehabilitation of some young children, maybe as young as you. What was the role? What was the entire story about is something very intriguing, and which is why we have Miss Monica here with us. She's the one who has worked on the screenplay for this, who's written the story for this, has made sure this is turned into a very interactive movie. If I have MYP 3 years, some of you who were there with me 2 years ago, you must remember that you've seen this as well, yes, right? We had seen parts of this, and this is a very interesting story. What is the story about? How did India play a role in this? What is it? What happened is something that we have Ms. Monica here for. She's come from Poland here, and we are very thankful to have her here with us today. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for your introduction. Thank you for an invitation to your school. It's an honor to be here and present to the students because it is an important story, and this story connects our two countries. The country I am from, and actually not only me, but Ms. Bogusha also, and the country you are from, India. Poland and India, we have a very strong connection, and this is shown by this story. This story starts 84 years ago, almost exactly on this day, because the beginning is the 13th of April, 1940. So this is the time of World War II. Now, I know some of you like history. So what year did the World War II start? What was the year? 1939. Absolutely. 1939, Hitler attacks Poland, and then the Soviet Union attacks Poland. They're together. They're like allies, right? And this story is from 1940. It is during World War II, and it happens in the part of Poland that is occupied the USSR, the Soviet Russia. And it's the main character in this story is a 9-year-old boy. Who's 9 here? Any 9-year-old people here? No, he is a small boy. So when you watch the story, please remember it happens to a small boy. Let's see how it starts.
Откройте! Откройте!
To mój dom, na ulicy Polnej 10. To moja rodzina, mama, tata, Ryś i ja. Ale taty nie ma, od kiedy pół roku temu zaczęła się wojna. To mój ukochany pies Redo. Dzisiaj jest niespokojny i nie daje mi spać.
Откройте! Откройте! НКВД! 20 минут, больше 15 минут.
Ale o co chodzi, panie oficerze?
Только один чемодан. Jedna вализка.
Ale dokąd nas zabieracie?
Да я не знаю. Быстрее, быстрее. Одевайся, быстрее.
Redo, stój!
So this is the 13th of April, 1940. Did it look like a friendly visit? No. Who was knocking on the door? Who do you think? NKVD, the Soviet officers. And this family is deported from Poland, from their home in Poland into Siberia, which is in Soviet Russia. They are allowed to take one suitcase for all three of them. One suitcase with whatever they fit into this suitcase, and they have 1 hour to pack this suitcase. How long are they going for? Forever. They're not told that they'll ever come back to their homes. Do they know where they're going? No. They're not told where they're going. They're being deported. They're put on a train together with hundreds of thousands of other Poles, and they are taken to a village in Siberia, and there's no escape from there because they don't really know. They're surrounded by forests and taiga and a region they don't know a lot about, nothing at all. They've never been there. What are some of the rules of being deported? You don't eat if you don't work. So there's 9-year-old Wiesio, 11-year-old Ryś, and their mother. Who can work? Only the mother. Can she do the jobs, the difficult and hard jobs that she is assigned? Not at all, because she's assigned to cutting trees in the forest and dragging them back to the village. She can't do it. So what's the result? They don't eat. They get half a portion, 1/4 of one portion, and she has to feed herself and the boys. So what happens? She falls sick, and she can't work. So the boys try to sell the things that they have brought in the suitcase. So they're selling some of the clothes that they brought, a watch, some of the valuables, but very soon they run out of those things, and there's nothing else to sell. Mother is sick. They have to go out and look for food. And you know how cold it is in Siberia. Has anyone been to Siberia? Because it is a beautiful place, actually, but not if you are deported there. How cold is it in Siberia? Less than? -7 or 10 degrees, like times 3. Okay? It goes down to -40. Sometimes to -50, depending on how far north you are. So you need food, you need wood for the stoves, and there are none. And they think they'll stay there forever. And are they allowed to speak Polish? No. They are forced to speak the Russian language because they are to be turned into Russian citizens. The little boy, his brother, their mother, and a lot of other Polish people who were forced into Siberia. Well, they think they're going to stay there forever until a very unexpected thing happens in the year 1941. And here's the history section. What happens in 1941 during World War II? Yes? Say it. You know, say it. Huh. Who knows? Who can guess? Yes. Yes. Germany attacks Russia, the Soviet
Tu
Union.
mówi Londyn. W dniu dzisiejszym w Moskwie doszło do podpisania historycznego układu pomiędzy Polską a Związkiem Socjalistycznych Republik Radzieckich. Podpisując to porozumienie, Józef Stalin uwolnił ponad 200 000 polskich obywateli więzionych na terenach ZSRR, aby przyłączyli się do walki z hitlerowską III Rzeszą. Polacy wyruszają z nadzieją.
Wyruszamy i my, chociaż nie mamy za co. Jedyne, co nam pozostało, to ślubna obrączka mamy. Czas ją sprzedać.
So the Poles are now made free. They are freed. Why? Why does Joseph Stalin, who has sent them to Siberia, now why he wants them free? Mhm. Right, the Polish men. How about the women and the children? Do they care about them? No, not at all. They're like, whatever happens to them. Yes. We can't answer that question at that time. We'll answer it at the very end. So the men are, yes? Well, the dog was left behind. This is another very sad rule of deportation. When you are being deported, nobody cares about your beloved animals. They're all left behind. You can't take them with you. You can't take your things, your beloved books and everything, and your animals. The dog has to stay. It was a big dog, because this is a true story. It was a big dog, and it probably did just fine and ran to the forest, or maybe some people took care of it. Russian and Polish are a little similar, and if you're deported and you don't know how to speak the language, you better learn, because nobody is going to teach you. You better learn, or if you can't speak the language, you better stay silent. Well, then a lot of things could happen. Like if they spoke Russian, they would get candy. If they spoke Polish, they would get no food, no extra food. So they were actually rewarded, and those are small children. They were rewarded for speaking Russian. They might get beat up for speaking Polish. They were to become Russian citizens, that's it. Forget about being Polish. Mm-hmm. What kind of animal? They had to stay behind, and there's no time to arrange for a dog sitter. No, it is they come, they do boom, boom, boom on your door. 1 hour to pack in one suitcase, and then out. It's like no time to call anyone, no time to tell anyone. No, out of the house. That's it. So now we are so the Poles are freed now. Are they given any money to travel, food? No, none at all. So they try to go south to the army, military assembly points. But there's no food. The people are very weak after 2 years in Siberia. So they get, an epidemic starts. Remember COVID? How we all got scared and frightened? An epidemic starts that actually a lot of people, thousands of people die. So Viesio is in a little Uzbek town of Kasansai in point number 5 here on the map. And his mother and his brother Rish fall sick. And they are taken away. Are they taken away to a hospital? No, this is still the Soviet Union. No, they are taken away to be isolated from the other people. Right? For the epidemic not to spread. But they're not treated, there's no doctor, there's no hospital bed. They're just put somewhere. And this is when Viesio sees his mother and his brother for the last time, or he thinks so, that they'll just die there and he'll never see them again. Where does he go? Where would you go if you were left alone in a foreign country, not really speaking the language, being afraid and being hungry? Where would you go? To police. And you know what the police would say? Oh, go to an orphanage. This is what actually Viesio did, but he skipped the police. Well, you would never, being a Pole, you would never go to Soviet police. Never. Because you would never do that. But he did go to an orphanage, and he thought that would be maybe a good place to stay. Maybe they'll feed me. This is what he thinks. No, this is a place for juvenile criminals. So there are gangs in this orphanage. They get soup once a day. That's all. He doesn't really get a proper bed. Really, this is a scary place, but there's no other place for him to go. And now Viesho is in the orphanage, and it is in Russian, it is called Детдом. Детдом. And of course, you have to speak Russian there. And he thinks, this is the place where I'm going to die. This is the end of me. I can't live like that. I'm going to die. Well, fortunately, right across the screen in point number 4, 2 very important people meet that will change his life. So this is on the right, Polish General Władysław Sikorski. He is head of the Polish state in exile. And this is on the left, Maharaja Jam Saheb. And they are talking. They are both invitees to the British War Cabinet. And they are introduced to each other and they talk. Maharaja congratulates General Sikorski on the treaty that Stalin signed about freeing all the Poles because General Sikorski was one of the negotiators. But General Sikorski says, well, yes, all the Poles were free, but now there are thousands of civilians, especially children, all around in Russia, and there's no place. We would like to evacuate them, but there's no country that will welcome them. No country, no neighboring country, no faraway country, no country in the world wants those children. And Maharaja says, how come? I'll take them. I'll invite 1,000 of them to my estate in Balachadi on the Arabian Sea, and I will build a camp for them. Can he do that? Well, he can, but he needs the Britishers to agree, and at first they don't want to agree. They don't want to let him do it. So now there is a place being built for the Polish children, but Wiesio is still in this orphanage in Kasansai, and he does not know about the meeting of Maharaja and General Sikorski, right? He's still thinking he's going to die in that orphanage. Polish government in exile sends out delegates to look for children like Wiesio, and one of them finds Wiesio in that Soviet orphanage, and he actually finds more children. He takes them all, and he takes them from this orphanage to a place for Polish children, and they are preparing to take these kids out of Russia. Still, the Soviets make it very difficult for the children to leave Soviet Russia. You have to have a list of names. All the names have to be written exactly, and every child needs to say present when the name is called. Otherwise, he or she is not leaving Russia, staying behind, back to the orphanage.
Wysadzać, wysadzać! Bystrzej, bystrzej!
Z Syberii wyjeżdżają tylko ci, których nazwiska są na liście. Żołnierze pilnują, żeby nikt inny się nie wydostał.
Potoczny!
Jestem!
Maslowska!
Jestem!
Czubak!
Jestem!
Wierzbiecka!
Jestem.
Kaszuba!
Jestem.
Romasz!
Jestem.
Stepula!
Jestem!
Bielecki!
Janka Bieleckiego nie ma na liście, bo zgłosił się do sierocińca w ostatniej chwili.
Bielecki!
Komendant transportu ukrył go pod ławką, żeby mógł wyjechać razem ze swoim młodszym bratem Piotrkiem.
Bielecki!
Jestem!
Dzięki komendantowi bracia Bieleccy wyjeżdżają razem. Nareszcie opuszczam to straszne miejsce. A mama? A Ryś? Czy zostaną tam na zawsze?
So now Wiesio leaves the Soviet Union. Now he is going towards Balachadi. This is still thousands of kilometers away, but those children are very happy to be going in this direction because this, they hope, will be a much happier place than Soviet Russia, Siberia, and Soviet orphanages. And it is truly a very happy place for them. And now we will see who welcomes those children at the train station in Jamnagar.
Und wir werden in unserem Zeichen niederfliegen!
Deeply moved by the suffering of the Polish nation, and especially those whose childhood and youth is being spent in appalling condition in this most terrible of war, I wanted to contribute in some way to improving their circumstances. So I offered them hospitality in lands located far from the turmoil of war. Maybe here in the beautiful hills by the seashore, the children will be able to recover, perhaps forget everything past, and gather strength for their future work as citizens of a free country.
So So the children now arrive in Balachady, where a camp for Polish children has been built, and they stay here from the year 1942 to the year 1946. And this is a happy place compared to what they have been through in Siberia. They think their parents are dead. Many of the parents are actually dead. Viesha thinks he hasn't seen his father since the beginning of the war. He has seen his mother last time in Siberia, in Kasansai, when she was taken away from him. So those are all orphans. And for someone to tell them, I'm your father now, and to actually keep his word, because he kept his word, he treated them like his own children, 1,000 of them, was incredible. Was really incredible. And they started to overcome the trauma that they have experienced in Siberia. This turned into a very happy place for them. They were like a family. They had friends. Those were not gangs. Those were just friends, other boys. And they started having adventures. Instead of starving, stealing, going through horrible things, they got their childhood back. They could go to school, and the school was in Polish language and also in English. They had Boy Scouts. They play football. How important is football? Very important. They did theater. How important? It's very important. They played instruments. And every time they wanted something, like they needed the sports equipment or the musical instruments, their father, Jam Saheb of Navanagar, would supply them. At some point, Maharaja's own children came to the camp and saw all this sport equipment and the balls and football and everything, and they said, come on, we don't even have this at the palace. Why don't you get us some? And they started getting the sports equipment that was already available at the camp for the Polish children. So they were really treated as a family, really were cousins, and up until this day, if they meet, because this is a real story, if they meet, they'll call each other brother and sister. So this is a very happy place, and if we have time, we can play just one sequence from the camp. So these were very happy times for them. And then the year 1945 comes and the end of World War II. Are they happy about that? Yes, they are happy that the war has ended, but now they can go home, and actually the new Polish government wants them to come back home. Do they want to go home? No. Why not? Because India's better. Of course, that's the easy answer. Well, they love it here in India, but they don't want to go home because Poland, after World War II, it was very unfair for us. But we, after the war, are controlled by the very country that has sent those kids away from their homes, deported them. That is the Soviet Russia, the USSR. Poland is not independent. We are a country, but our government is controlled by the Soviets. So when the delegate comes to get the children who don't have their parents or an older sibling to take care of them as a legal guardian, the Polish government comes to the camp in Balachady, wants to take the orphan children back. The kids don't want to go. And the camp management, the camp commander doesn't know what to do, but there's one person who knows what to do. And that is the Maharaja Jam Saheb. And he says, nobody has to go if they don't want to go, because I will adopt all the underage Polish children. They'll be my children, and the Polish delegate, she can go back by herself. And this is actually what happens. She came all the way to Balachadi and went back with no one. Nobody wanted to go back. Everyone stayed in Balachadi. They could not stay in India, not very many of them, after India regained independence, because it was a very complicated situation and Maharaja did not have as much power and resources as he had before. But they were taken to the places that would welcome them, never to orphanages, never to horrible places. Their caretakers would travel around the world and find good places for them, very good places. But before Wiesio went anywhere, he received a letter.
Pięć lat temu wywieźli nas z Polski. Od 3 lat mieszkamy w osiedlu. Każdego dnia myślimy o powrocie do domu. Wojna się skończyła, ale co z tego? Nasze rodzinne strony nie należą już do Polski, a my nie mamy gdzie i do kogo wracać. Zaraz po apelu komendant wzywa mnie do kancelarii. To nie wróży nic dobrego, chociaż nie pamiętam, żebym ostatnio coś narozrabiał.
Masz. Czytaj.
Zawiadamiamy uprzejmie, że jest pan poszukiwany przez panią Kazimierę Stypułę?
Moja mama żyje!
I've seen endless wonders that I barely could believe. I've seen all the stars in heaven staring back at me. I've seen a billion minds collide and stream into my eyes. As time rolls on, I won't let life leave me behind. Let's sing out loud. 'Cause all we know has been turned upside down. Everything is possible now. Everything is possible now.
So this was quite a happy ending to this story because his mother found him and he did return to Poland afterwards, but his mother and his brother were waiting for him in Poland. He did not have to go to an orphanage. He went back to his mother. Unfortunately, his father was killed in the year 1940. They found out after the war, many years, he was called in. So in the Katyn massacre, this is a massacre of 20,000 Polish officers, army officers, taken prisoners and shot by the Soviet Union. And this is Wiesio now. He's about 93 years old. He lives very close to my place in Warsaw. So we are, you can say, neighbors. And he calls India his second homeland. A lot of those kids really loved it here. Actually, all of them loved it here. They liked India, and they have returned many times. And I just want to show you one movie with Wiesio, very short, just 1 or 1.5 minutes, of when we brought him back to film some of the scenes in Balachadi. So this was a short match in Jambuda, which the Poles won, 1-0. So Wiesio was actually there, and he came with us with the film crew. We filmed some sequences, and you know what's a good thing about an interactive documentary is that you don't need me to tell you about it. You can go to www.bravebunchinIndia.pl, and I might not be pronouncing it well, so here's a flyer for everyone. You can get a flyer and you can scan the QR code and you can get there directly, and all those little points that you see on the screen, they all have sequences with Wiesio, short films, and all the points throughout the documentary, wherever you see the number 1, 2, 3, and other numbers, it has some of Wiesio's adventures in India and very difficult times in Siberia. Now, I want to ask you one question. Please raise your hand who thinks this is a true story. Yes, it's important. It is a true story. This really happened to Wiesio, whom you saw on the photograph, right? It is an absolutely authentic, true story. I have some photographs from this camp. I have a diary written by one of the boys. I have spoken to many of them, interviewed the Maharaja family, his own children, a lot of people in Balachadi and Jamnagar, and I wanted to make it as authentic as possible for you to learn and also be inspired, and also as a way to say thank you to the people here in India for what they have done for the Poles during World War II, because their experiences in India were so much different from Siberia. It made a world of difference that they came here. This was really a welcoming place for them, and they loved it. Actually, after the war, many of them, towards the end of their lives, said this was the best time of their lives, when they were here in India. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ms. Monica. I think, there's a very famous quote which says, stories need to be told or they die. And I think I'd like to thank you for telling us the story. Otherwise, the story probably would not have made it to us at any point in time. And it's now just with us, it's actually immortal. Any point in time, our future generations would also be aware of the connection that we share. So thank you so much for doing this and being here and talking about this documentary. Like ma'am said, I'd love it if you could go back and see this entire documentary for the way it is, and you'll feel the emotions that the young child goes through during this entire journey and how elated he is in the end to revisit the place that accepted him with open arms when the world did not. So this is a very wonderful thing. I would also, I have Ms. Sonali Joshi with us, our principal, who also wants to speak a few words about you.
Good afternoon, children. Hello, everybody. Did you have a good lunch? And what a wonderful knowledge gaining here after lunch. I think we couldn't be happier. I must begin with thanking Monica. Thank you, Monica, Bogutia, and Magda here. Thank you very much for taking out time. I think this is like all of us reaping the crop that our ancestors had sown for us. How proud we are feeling as Indians when people from the world are coming and telling us about, some of the values that we carry, and we don't even know that we are carrying them with us. We are like this is something that we are born with, things like compassion, which is so abstract that you can't go to anybody and say, oh, please give me 1 kg of compassion. It's there within you. We have it within us. How much empathy we have within us. And let's grow to build it further within each one of us. I really like the last line of the movie in which Vishaw says, stay open to the world and its people. It ends there. And really, the programs that we do in school, the IB program or the Cambridge program, it is all about being open-minded. And what is it then when we say that stay open to the world? Why did the Maharaja think like? Why did his heart pour out for people with whom he was not connected actually? But it's about the human connect that we have with people. How when we look at strangers, those who don't know us and we don't know them, and yet we feel, oh, we can lend a helping hand. Let's keep nurturing these values within us. It happened once upon a time in the World War, but small things do keep happening which allow us to display compassion and empathy for our fellow beings. Let's not kill that quality that is within us. Let's nurture it, let's grow with it, and make the world a better place, more peaceful. Okay? And thank you very much once again, ladies, for being here. It was really very touching to be recognized. I think we are going with a very heavy and a full heart to be recognized and to be said, somebody coming to us and saying, thank you. Thank you for us being what we are. And as much as it was a delight for you, it was an honor for us to having you. Thank you.
I request our principal to felicitate Ms. Monica with a token of our appreciation. Thank you, ma'am. We also have Ms. Magda here with us, who's from Polish Institute. She's the acting director and plays a very key role in ensuring that these kind of connections, these bonds remain with us for a lifetime. If I could request Ms. Magda to please take in a token of our appreciation. Thank you so much. Can we have a round of applause, please? We have one more person here with us, and I'd like to welcome her in 2 ways. One, as a parent of a student, and as a result of which we've been able to have today's session. So I think as Prometheus, we've had this unfair advantage that before any other school could ask her to visit, we blocked that date much in advance. And whilst I asked, if I should introduce her first, she said, no, I don't need a role. I'm not really playing a role, but I think you played one of the most integral roles in helping Ms. Monica come to our school today. So I'd like to thank you so much for coming here and doing this. Thank you.
For the school. This is Polish folk art for the school. Maybe it'll hang somewhere on the wall or maybe in the office. This is handmade, a cutout. If you want to learn, just talk to Ms. Bogusia and she will organize workshops on that. But it'd be great if it could stay with the school.
Of course. It's so pretty. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this beautiful present. I'm sure we'll treasure it and we'll display it in a place of pride. Thank you so much for coming in today. Thank you, students. We will now be moving to our next lesson, which is the last lesson for the day, lesson 9. So I'd request you to start moving grade-wise and move for your classes. Whilst you're leaving, we will have teachers standing, if I could have 2 set of teachers just standing there, distributing these pamphlets for the students. If you can just divide them between 2, 3 of you and make sure.